I was alone in the pack, and then Doug joined in later. And 6 months ago, when Doug introduced me to you guys, I thought, wait a second, could it be? And now, I know for sure. I just added 2 more guys to my wolf pack. Welcome to EOS Weekly. We wanted to get this episode out a little earlier in the week than usual. This is potentially a huge week for EOS, with the number of launches targeted. And we wanted to make sure all our viewers knew ahead of time what was going on, so that you could follow along with some of these events in real time in case you were interested. So here's the calendar for this week. We've got the long-awaited referendum voting process going live as soon as today. That's the beta version of this tool on October 30th. Then tomorrow on the 31st, Halloween, Telos is having their next go, no-go call. And from the Telos checklist that you see here, Telos is very, very close, so this could be the big date. Then on Thursday, November 1st, WORBLI as well as EOS Finex have their target launch dates. Now, with EOS Finex, we got that November 1st date from the Blockchain Live conference in London last month. Currently, their website just says November with no specific date. So we'll see if this is still targeted for the 1st and goes live on the 1st, or if it might be later this month. But besides these 4 big events, the launch of Bancor X is also imminent, according to this tweet sent out on October 22nd. But again, we don't have a specific date for the Bancor X launch. And Rex is the next one that, according to the Bytemaster here, and this is from about a week ago, they're putting the finishing touches on it now. Then up to the community, he says. And what he means by that is that the community is going to need to vote on Rex using the referendum tool once it's ready. Telos did pre-approve Rex, so they don't need to vote on it, and it is possible that Rex will go live on Telos before going live on the mainnet. But the thing we wanted to focus on in this episode were the Telos and WORBLI launches. It's sort of amazing that these 2 launches might just happen within 24 hours of each other. These 2 chains are somewhat opposites in certain ways, so the 2 arriving at the same time is bringing a nice symmetry to the EOS ecosystem. It's bringing some options. As of today, if you want to build a smart contract dApp on top of EOS, on top of an EOS blockchain, you've got one and only one option. That's the EOS mainnet. And that's not going to be for long. Going forward, if you're building something for the financial industry where KYC, know your customer, and AML, anti-money laundering, need to be accounted for, you'll probably want to go with WORBLI. WORBLI is made for that. But if KYC and AML are not a concern for your business case, you'll probably want to go with one of the more general purpose blockchains, namely the EOS mainnet or, coming soon, Telos. Now, playing devil's advocate, it's already a bit risky for businesses to build on a bleeding edge technology such as EOS. Now, I know we all love EOS, but let's face it, EOS is very, very new. It still has to be proved out a bit. And if you put yourself in the shoes of a business selecting one of these blockchains, you're probably going to want to go with the more stable, safe, lowest possible risk option out there, which would probably mean sticking with the herd on the mainnet, because this would seem like the safest place, right? Safety in numbers? Maybe. But there's one more thing that these dApp builders are going to want to factor in. Can you name it? Money. The price to build on each chain. If you're building a new dApp, and especially if you're bootstrapping this great new idea of yours, and you've got limited funds, price is going to come into play in a major way. And the reason why this is about to get really interesting is because Telos, while it might be considered more risky for now, is also going to be the cheaper option of the 2. It's just a fact that when one of these new EOS blockchains spins up, nobody's going to be using the network resources, the CPU, the net, the RAM. It's going to be like going into a brand new city that is fully stocked with floor space, electricity, food, and water, and everything's at rock bottom prices. Plus, GoodBlock, the block producer that Douglas Horn leads up, is offering this program called GoodGrants, where dApps building on Telos are eligible to get 1 year or more free net and CPU. There's also a Telos Foundation RAM grant they can apply for. These grants can help dApps not only run their business while they're getting started, they can use these free resources to do things like airdrops as well. So this looks pretty enticing. And there's a good chance that Telos is going to draw in a good number of dApps, the ones that are price conscious and willing to live with some risk of going on a newer chain. The question, though, is whether Telos will draw those dApps in fast enough to sustain themselves. If you caught last week's episode on how we're anticipating things to look in the year 2020, you'd know that we're expecting these 3 blockchains to be the first of a wider set, a full spectrum of EOS blockchains that will spin up in the months and years ahead. So zooming out and looking at all this on a longer time horizon, one of the things that'll be interesting to watch is whether these EOS blockchains will spin up at just the right pace to keep up with demand, or if there will be times when the number of EOS chains grows at too fast a pace or too slow a pace. It's straight out of high school biology when you might have studied population ecology. That's the study of how populations of different interrelated organisms impact each other and reach different equilibriums. For example, if you take a forest with wolves and bunnies, the wolf population is going to expand based on how much food there is available. But if it grows too fast and they deplete the bunny supply, some of those wolves are going to starve. But then the bunny population inevitably grows back and the wolves and bunnies find a happy equilibrium again. Of course, the blockchains don't eat the dApps, thank goodness, and thanks to the non-violence clause in the Constitution. Otherwise, the blockchains might be tempted to eat them. Once again, the brilliance and the foresight of the Bytemaster shines through. Right now, there's a long list of block producer candidates for the mainnet that goes way down past the active 21 here. So what we're seeing is that there are lots and lots of people who are interested in earning revenue as a block producer. The BP candidates in this list all, theoretically, have both the hardware as well as the know-how to run a BP operation. Those people are going to be watching what happens very closely with Telos and WORBLI to see what kind of success these new chains have. Because if the market shows that there is enough of a demand, if they think there's enough of a bunny population to support another wolf in the pack, those BP candidates, most of whom are making little or no money, the ones past the 21 here, those BP candidates are going to consider doing just what Telos did, what the Telos BPs did. They'll say, screw trying to get into the top 21 on the mainnet. We know how to do this. Let's spin up our own chain. Now, if they're smart, they're going to find some angle to differentiate themselves from the other chains. Both Telos and WORBLI did this. They both have some distinguishing characteristics that make them different from the mainnet and different from each other. But timing is going to be everything in this game. If too many chains spin up all at once, there won't be enough demand to support all of them. Looking at the current set of EOS applications and the pace that they're being announced, 3 public EOS blockchains feels about right at the moment, but only time will tell. Who knows, maybe Telos and WORBLI are coming in too early, and the dApp population isn't big enough yet to support them. This is a total valid concern. We need there to be enough dApps to drive the Telos token price up enough so as to support the Telos BPs. If Telos doesn't get enough dApps quick enough, if the price remains low, those Telos BPs won't have enough revenue coming in to continue operations. The Telos BPs are aware of this concern and they share this concern. They've been discussing during their conference calls how much inflation to put towards block producer payment, because they need to be able to turn the dial on that inflation percentage up or down based on where the Telos token price goes. Turning up the inflation dial will buy them some time if they spun up a bit too soon. But if they spun up way too soon, if their timing was way off, the inflation dial won't be enough. Hopefully the Telos BPs time this right and they'll get enough business to sustain operations and grow into a successful network. That's it for this week's episode of EOS Weekly. If you'd like to follow along with these launches and the go-no-go calls, check out our show notes below. We're going to add the links to where you can find more information on these. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll help you stay current on EOS as this revolution unfolds. Thanks, and we'll see you next week right here on EOS Weekly.